Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Sparkly here with a new video for you. Welcome to Season 3, Part 5 of What If Izuku was Majin? I just wanted to greet you guys by saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So we begin. A day went by after the exams, and Aizawa explained that everyone had passed the written part of the exam, which allowed everyone to go to the campsite. Everyone celebrated that they could go to it, but Aizawa shot down their excitement for fun. He explained that those who failed the physical part of the exam would be working with him in a separate group from everyone else. Some were upset about doing something like that, while the others sighed in relief. On the outside of the building, a creature chuckled as it focused on a particular part of the building. It chuckled as it slowly moved away from them. Izuku turned to what he felt. Once he turned, it disappeared quickly. Once the school day ended, Izuku, Mina, and a few other classmates went into the mall, taking their time to rest or prepare for the campsite. Everyone was enjoying themselves. Everyone except Izuku. Something was bothering the pink boy. He kept turning his head whenever something seemed off, not giving him a chance to relax. Mina noticed that Izuku was paranoid and asked what was wrong. Izuku said he kept feeling something weird around him for the first entire day. It was as if someone was watching and following him. Mina said maybe it was just a creature trying to break free and that he should eat something before something happened. Izuku chuckled and agreed with Mina. Izuku did what Mina said, and the feeling was still there with him. After a long day, Izuku returned home after hanging out with his friends. He was thinking back to everything from the school year, from the good to the bad. A frown formed on Izuku's face, remembering how he allowed the monster to take hold of them multiple times and hurt everyone around him. But the frown turned into a smile, as he remembered how his friends and family put themselves in harm's way to stop him from causing chaos for everyone. He may feel disappointed in himself, but he is glad that there are people out there that care about him. Izuku kept walking down the empty street as he neared his home. "Izuku," a voice called out. The voice echoed in the dark, empty streets. Izuku turned around to where he heard the voice, and there was nothing behind him except the muffled noise of the cars and the people. The voice called out to him again, and Izuku looked towards it again, but nothing. Izuku stopped in his tracks and called out for the person calling his name. "Who's there? And how do you know me? And what do you want with me?" Izuku asked. There was no response except the pink energy blast coming towards his way. Izuku slapped the blast away and fired one directly back. A small explosion occurred, and the only thing that fell was bricks from the building. Izuku sensed around him to see exactly what was calling him. He could feel something moving around in the shadows of the street. "Alright, villain, if you think you can take me on, bring it!" Izuku shouted, putting himself in a stance. Izuku kept following the creature around the alley as he sensed the creature building up its speed, hoping it could catch Izuku off guard. And it worked. The creature pounced on Izuku, hitting him on the ground as the creature stood on top of him. Izuku looked up to see who it was and was shocked to see. This creature looked like the pink man from the caves, except he looked grayer and shinier than the chubby man. Izuku was wondering how or why this creature was out of him, but Izuku didn't have time to think about it. He fired several blasts at top, only for it to morph its body around to dodge while it was standing on him. Izuku was about to fire another blast at the creature, but it stretched out its hands to grab a hold of Izuku. Izuku only had one chance left to defeat him. He aimed his antenna and prepared a candy beam for it. Izuku fired the beam, only for the creature to blow the blast back at him. Izuku was turned into candy from his attack. Skinny Boo stood over the turned candy boy and smiled down at him.
You look delicious. You wouldn't mind me having a bite of you, would you?
Skinny Boo chuckled. Skinny Boo picked up the candy Izuku and closely inspected it. He snickered at the young candy and placed it on his tongue. Skinny Boo laughed out loud as Izuku was freaking out. Izuku couldn't feel anything coming out of his mouth. He could only hear himself crying out for help in his head as he slowly was placed on Skinny Boo's tongue. "Wait!" Izuku screamed in his head as a monster swallowed him. A few days later, the students gathered around the buses, waiting for everyone else to arrive. Mina kept pacing around her classmates, biting her nails nervously. Everyone was a bit worried that Mina was overreacting. Bakugo couldn't stand the biting and pacing from Mina. Bakugo walked over and told Mina to stop her freak out. Hey, Raccoon Eyes, Deku will be here soon. Stop freaking out over something minor like him, Bakugo stated. Mina looked back towards Bakugo with a nervous smile on her. She chuckled as she walked over towards Bakugo. I know. It's just that Izuku promised that we would meet up at my house so that we could walk together, but he didn't show up or answer my calls. And all we got from him was Inku saying that Izuku had been locked up in his room for the past few days, Mina nervously stated. Bakugo kept telling Mina to stop freaking out over him, but it didn't work and only made her more worried. Everyone just watched the two go back and forth with each other. It was weird for Izuku to be acting like this. He would be up and about either talking with Mina or training, but to be cooped up in his room for days is not normal for him. Just then, the students turned around to hear someone shouting out for them. Hey, sorry that I'm late, Izuku said. Mina pushed Bakugo out of the way and ran towards Izuku, hugging him. Izuku hesitated a bit before hugging back. Mina asked why he didn't come by her house to walk to school. Izuku sheepishly said that he had forgotten the time and ran over here, hoping that he didn't miss the bus. Bakugo came over towards the two. Bakugo bluntly stated to Mina that she needed to stop worrying about Deku. Mina chuckled as Izuku stared down at Bakugo. Bakugo asked what his problem was, and Izuku said nothing, with almost no emotion behind his voice. Bakugo didn't say anything back to him, and walked away from them. Vomi walked over, hugging Izuku, saying that she was glad that he was fine after only hearing from Inko about him. Izuku hugged back and mustered a smile for her. Vomi was a bit uneasy by the smile she got from Izuku. She was about to say something else to him that happened a few days ago, but the students were called to the buses. As the students got onto the bus, Izuku took a quick look at Vomi and Mina, without noticing anything, before he gave a quick smile as he boarded the bus. Vomi quickly looked back as she sensed something was off, but it went away as soon as she had sensed it. Before Aizawa went onto the bus, Vomi put her hand in front of him to stop him and talk with him. What's the problem? Aizawa questions. Vomi whispered into Aizawa's ear, hoping that Izuku wouldn't hear them. Keep an eye out on Zuku. That monster is trying to break out again, Vomi stated. Aizawa nodded as he got onto the bus, with Vomi being the last one on the bus. On the bus, Mina and Izuku sat together. For most of the bus ride, Izuku stared out the window, giving Mina simple replies to her speaking. She noticed that Izuku wasn't as talkative or interactive with her or anyone else. She tapped Izuku on his shoulder to grab his attention entirely. Izuku, are you sure that everything is alright with you? You seem like you're out of it today, Mina asked. Izuku turned his head away from the window, giving her a friendly smile. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just waiting for us to get to the campsite so we can train our quirks, Izuku chuckled. Izuku asked if All Might was going to be at the campsite. Mina said that everyone was notified that All Might wouldn't help in the camp due to a possible villain attack. Izuku sighed before going back to staring outside. Mina was bothered by Izuku's actions. He stayed inside, faking a smile for Vomi and not reacting to Bakugo speaking to him. Mina thought that Izuku wasn't feeling great due to him probably still sensing something that was bothering him, or something that happened to him that he didn't want to talk about, before she could ask her friend anything else. The bus stopped on a hillside. The students got off the bus and were greeted by the Pussycats and moving Hillside. The Pussycats explained that Aizawa did this to give the students more training with their quirks. Mud monsters came charging at the heroes. Izuku fired his energy blast at the mud monsters and ran into the woods. Mina screamed out for Izuku's name, but he kept running into the woods. Mina took notes of that and made her way towards Bakugo. Something is wrong with Izuku, Mina said. Bakugo blasted away another enemy to use his explosions to land next to Mina. Yeah, Deku would usually be by your side, which is sickening. That means he's either trying to prove that he is better than me, or something is wrong with him. Back with Izuku, he stretched and walked his body around to dodge the mud monsters from attacking him, and fired energy blasts, punching and kicking them away from him. Once the pros made it to the campsite, they turned around to find that only one of the students had made it before them, which was Izuku. The Pussycats commented on how fast and powerful he was, while Vomi and Aizawa were confused and unsettled about how Izuku just left his friends when He was usually the one that helped them out the most. Vomi slowly walked over towards Izuku. Izuku, you're the first and only one here. Vomi questions. I thought you would be with everyone else. I was hungry. They said that they're fine, Izuku coldly stated. Izuku walked past Vomi, Aizawa, and the Pussycats before entering the building. A memory of last week played in his mind. The once gray and skinny Buu became a buffer and pink version of himself, dubbing himself Super Buu. He looked down at his fist and tightened his hands to feel his power. He laughed out loud as a pink aura surrounded him.
Finally, now that I am whole, this entire world is my buffet.
He stated. Super Buu walks over towards the opening of the street, not revealing himself to everyone, but enough to see everyone walking by him. From his view, he saw the citizens as candy and sweets for him to eat up. His mouth watered as he imagined the power and taste that they had in him. He put out his hand as it prepared to fire blast, wanting the destruction he craved, but stopped in his tracks as something popped into his head. Heroes. Certain heroes would be an actual problem for him. However, a few people could ruin everything for me, and from what I can recall from Izuku's memory, they are All Might, Mina, and Vomi. Super Buu started to walk towards Izuku's house as his body morphed around. Inko was sitting at home, waiting for her son to come home. Everything was quiet until there was a knock at the front door. She got up, opening it to find Izuku stood in front of her as he finished fixing himself up. Inko hugged her son, only for Izuku to push her away and walk towards his room. Inko asked if everything was okay, and Izuku replied that he wasn't feeling too well. Back in the present, the day ended and the students, tired and beaten, made their way towards the pros in the building. They went inside until someone called out Mina and Bakugo's names. They turned to where they heard the voice, finding Vomi hiding behind a corner of the building. Mina, Bakugo, can the two of you come here? Vomi asked. Izuku isn't acting himself. He wasn't acting like this. He was mostly acting paranoid since last week. Whenever you guys finish your little shopping trip, Izuku's energy spikes a bit before returning to normal. I called Inko about Izuku, and she said he came back and said he wasn't feeling well, Vomi said. Yeah, we heard that part. Anything that has to deal with his attitude now? Bakugo screamed out, only for Vomi to cover his mouth. Vomi looked around her, ensuring Izuku didn't hear them as she continued speaking. Well, the day after you guys finished your exams, the heroes talked about finding the rest of the Red Ribbon Army dead in the abandoned part of town, Vomi stated. They found the bodies of Jero, my son, and that creature that attacked the city, but its chest seemed to be open. Then I remembered the attack on USJ. That robot took a piece of Izuku and fired it into the portal. I believe that a piece of Izuku created another Buu creature. I think it became its entity and did something horrible to Izuku. Vomi asked the two, just like Aizawa, to keep a watchful eye on Izuku and his behavior and notify her if he did anything awful. Mina nodded in agreement, while Bakugo shook his head in disagreement. Why don't we just attack Deku now? Bakugo questioned as his hands lit up from his explosions. Vomi shook her head, explaining that if they attacked Izuku right now, that monster would jump out and turn them into candy, making him more potent than before. She has something planned in case Izuku turns back into that monster, but if they do it now, then it won't work. Vomi said to keep it regular and ensure nobody else knows about it. The two agreed and made their way inside. The students were given tasks to overcome and strengthen their quirks in the following days. Vomi, Mina, Aizawa, and Bakugo were keeping a close eye on Izuku. Night began settling as Izuku walked out of the building, sensing the most potent energies around him. Izuku pinned the people he had in his eyes, and made his way towards them. Super Buu's plan is about to come to light, and this world will become his buffet. Thank you all for indulging yourself in this information thus far. I hope you all enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials have you covered. We the Celestials, My Hero Academia, and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake animes with a twist. Check them out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of the We the Celestials team, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it for today's video, so thank you all for watching.